my name's Deborah. I've been going to church since I was a newborn, but I didn't really connect with my parents' church because everyone was quite a lot older than me and there wasn't any kids my age apart from my siblings, so I just plodded along for about 18 years. And then in September of 2020, I joined uni in Bristol, so in COVID times, and I joined the CU group chat for the freshers, and Susanna said, so who's another student here, said that she's going to try out a couple of churches, and one of them was Metro, and then I joined and I never left. At the very beginning of this year, so third year, I went through a breakup, which was quite hard. But then in one of the Sunday sermons, Philip said, sometimes you need your safety net to break to realise that God is your safety net and he's permanent. And that really stuck with me. And I also went to hubs, which are our midweek groups. And that really connected me more, just seeing other Christians weekly and going into the Bible in more depth and just seeing what everyone else thinks. And then all of that has just strengthened my faith, and here I am. A few months ago, back in September at the start of the academic year, I realised I wanted to get baptised. I knew I wanted to get baptised in Metro because next year I won't be in Metro as I'm going back home to teach the maths. And I really wanted to get baptised in Metro because I've seen other people's stories and that's just really inspired me. For me, baptism represents getting closer with God. It's following in Jesus' footsteps because he did exactly the same thing. And we as Christians, and me obviously, want to be as close to Jesus as we can because he is the perfect role model. So I just want to follow in his footsteps. The best thing about having a relationship with Jesus is that he will always be there for you. He will never leave. He's eternal, so he will never leave. And he will always love you, so no matter what you're feeling, he will always be there to comfort you, and you'll never be lonely if you have him, which has provided me with my safety net, just to know that he is always there and he's always going to love me.
Hi, my name is Georgia. I grew up in a Christian family. I grew up going to church. When I was a bit older, our church stopped meeting in the same way and spread out. So I wasn't really going to church consistently until I came to uni, really. Before uni, I was speaking to my parents and they were like, oh, I'm sure we have friends who set up a church in Bristol. And I was like, do you know what it's called? And they're like, no. So I was like, okay, how am I going to find that ever? But I came, and in my first week, a very handsome man called Nigel gave me a church barbecue leaflet, and I thought, well, I might as well go. I went and I was introduced to Philip, who was like, oh, I knew you when you were this big. And I was like, oh, I don't remember you at all. And it turns out it's the exact people and the exact church that my parents had told me about. So I was like, oh, wow. So I went, and yeah, it was very new to me. Like, I appreciated teaching that went more into depth and the context and application. Getting involved in church and getting serious about faith has impacted my life a lot. Growing up, I went through really low mental health and had depression for a few years, and like coming to church and getting into the community and just growing in faith is the only thing that's consistently made my mental health so much better. Jesus is more than a figure who lived 2,000 years ago. He is like a brother and everything. And yeah, I just want to be walking with Jesus all the days of my life, and I want to be more like Jesus every day. And I really want my baptism to be like a sign to the people around me, keep me accountable, and help me to be like Jesus every day. I've wanted to get baptised for like the past 15 years. My parents told me, just wait until you grow up a bit, and I did, obviously. But then I kind of just put in arbitrary barriers, like, I want to get baptised in the sea, but I don't live by the sea or anything. So I wanted to get baptised today because I want to make sure that I get baptised before I get married, because God is like number one in my life. So I just feel like that's the right order to do things. Nigel, the man who gave me the leaflet inviting me to church, who I then led a small group with for 2 years and now I'm leading with again, I am getting married to him in a few months, so worked out pretty well.